Hi, everybody. When we met individually in my office, I drew for most of you my really crappy image of the hourglass as a way of imagining or envisioning the structure of either an entire essay or a paragraph. In the case of what we were talking about in my office, we typically focused on a paragraph. However, I want you to think about it as more than just the way that we structure paragraphs. Think in terms of a large essay. After all, large essays also start broadly with a thesis that is then broken down into the little pieces of main points that are going to support that thesis. And if you think of the 5-paragraph essay, each of those paragraphs is one of the points that supports or distributes the thesis. And then within those paragraphs, we have the exact same structure, which is the broad topic sentence narrowed down to the particular evidence, then discussed in terms of the warrant. So I want to just review again with you all that picture, that image of the hourglass. And here it is. And so think about this as a single paragraph, and we'll work our way through it. First thing we have is our claim, right? Then we have our data. Sorry, I'm clicking and it wasn't showing up. Then we have our warrant. So our paragraph structure is fairly familiar, and it should be fairly consistent throughout the bulk of your body paragraphs. As we talked about in class way back, introduction paragraphs and conclusion paragraphs and even transition paragraphs might not adhere to this structure. But for almost every other paragraph you write, this is the structure that you want to embrace, because it will only help you maintain a kind of order and flow and fluency in your writing. So I want you to look at this again and burn it into your eyes so that this is how you think about writing at every possible time. Now, as we talked about in my office, I'm trying to get you, and we also talk about this in class, I'm trying to get you to think about the fact that what makes writing compelling is some universal element that allows it to appeal to readers across the spectrum. It's not just the people who are interested in your particular topic, but readers who might not know anything or might not even be that engaged in your particular topic, but who can see the larger implications. Those are the universals, and that's the thing I keep trying to hit hard with you. Identifying what is the universal in the particular subgroup, setting, field site that you are studying. But it's the same thing with any essay you write. If it's history or science or literature, it's how does that particular point on which you want to focus connect to something larger and more significant? For those of you who were in high school recently, you might have begun to see teachers talk about essential questions, these sort of broad, generic questions about identity or about community, things like that. That's the move in the Common Core standards, is to get us to think about broad ideas and then to see how each content area's specific instruction connects to broad ideas, so that those broad ideas sort of unite your entire education. And that's the dream, and if it works, it sounds like it could be pretty cool. So then we have your particular, by the way, I would like some props for the flying in of things and the dual color, but I digress. Your particular then follows from that universal. And remember, we talked about getting your paragraphs to establish the universal, then move to the particular. Then we get your data, right? Your particular evidence, the evidence that supports your particular. And then that evidence, by supporting your particular, also looks back to your universal. So after we offer our data, we begin to widen again. First, we start talking about how that data connects to our particular, and then we bring it back to the universal. So it's not that complicated a model, and the structure allows you then to focus on the quality of what you input into this paragraph. So, I'm going to pause so I can fix this, because you can't read it all, and I've got to figure out how to do that. So I'm going to hit pause, and then I'll be back. Okay, here we go. So you'll remember the example that I used. Some of you got to meet my dog Amos, some of you didn't. But the example that I used to model with was about dogs, because there's nothing I know better. So, of all pets, dogs are the best. The best pets are by your side whenever you need or want them. Of all the dog breeds, the Jack Russell is the best companion. Amos, my JRT, which is the hip talk for Jack Russells, weighs 18 pounds. He fits into a small carrier and can travel on a plane with me. There is no place I can travel that Amos cannot go. The ability to have Amos with me is a comfort whenever I need one. It is this ability to provide comfort on call that makes dogs such perfect companions. And this is a simple paragraph, but it does exactly what we want it to do. I make a universal claim, right? Dogs are the best. That's it. They're the best because they're there when you need them. There's my universal claim. To say all dogs are the best really doesn't rate. That's not sufficient. Like, so what? All dogs are the best. Why? Why? Because the best pets are by your side whenever you need or want them. The questioning of yourself, the asking why, is one of your best tools to evaluate whether you are really writing well and making your points clear. So now here's my claim particular. Of all the dog breeds, the Jack Russell is the best companion. Right? Why? Now I have to offer my evidence for that. Amos weighs 18 pounds, he fits into a carrier, and he can travel with me anywhere I go, and there's no place that I travel that he cannot go. Well, that's what makes him the best. How does that connect to the particular? Because the ability to have Amos with me is a comfort, right? And we've got dog breeds, Jack Russell's the best. The ability to have him with me is a comfort, tying back to my claims, and it is the ability to provide comfort on call that makes dogs such perfect companions. That's it. Don't make writing rocket science. Don't make it harder than it has to be. Make it easy and then go watch TV. So here's the claim from my mock ethnography about the Fort Collins Farmers Market. And again, take a look at it. When Americans want something, they want it now. The American and entrepreneurial spirit inspires them to make what they cannot immediately find. The Fort Collins Farmers Market is an example of this uniquely American spirit in action. In order to get farm fresh produce available locally, residents are forced to drive more than 20 miles from the city. They address this challenge by organizing a weekly farmers market right in the city. This market, which features as many as 50 vendors, allows Fort Collins residents to access to the fresh produce they crave when they crave it. Their embracing of the farm-to-fork movement and the need for farm fresh food made it necessary to find a way to bring these ingredients to the table fast. This ability to find a way to get what they need when they need it makes the residents of Fort Collins exemplars of an American entrepreneurial spirit. Okay, there you go. It's the exact same thing. It's really simple. And because I have structure, I can focus on my words a little bit. I can focus on my language. I can focus on what I put into the paragraph that I create. And ups, you can see here, 1 minute, I'm going to hit pause again so that I can somehow or other figure out how to stretch my screen a little bit. So I'll be right back. There we go. It fits nicely now. But I just did the same thing. My claim universal. When Americans want something, they want it now. If they can't get it, they're going to make it. And that's very entrepreneurial, right? And then the Fort Collins Farmers Market is an example of our American entrepreneurial spirit. Why? Because they can't get their produce because they're too lazy-ass to drive 20 miles to a real farm, so they'll try and recreate the farm in the city. Just as an aside, in case you can't tell my bias about the bullshit farmers market. But anyway, then here's my, so there's my evidence. Now my tying it, it's got these 50 vendors that allow them access to the fresh produce they crave when they crave it. They've got to get that to the table fast. Excuse the 2 periods there. And then I've tied it back to entrepreneurial spirit. Every paragraph. So as you're looking at your work, check your paragraphs. Do I have a claim that's universal? Do I have a claim that's particular? Do I narrow it to the data that supports the particular, that supports the universal? Then is my warrant, my discussion, starting with the particular and then moving back to the universal. As I said to you, it might feel artificial in some of the assignments that we write because it's really wrenching that universal in all the time, but I want you to keep trying to do it, only because that will get you into the habit of always thinking from broad to narrow, and that's just such an effective way to write. So keep this in mind, and have a good weekend until I see you on Tuesday.